Hey, welcome to BSB TV today. Really excited. I've got Debbie Salter from Dynamic Commercial Collections, and collecting debts is something that we all really love to do.
No, they don't.
So
you
Debbie,
either love it or you hate it.
So Debbie, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the whole, who wakes up one morning and goes, I want to get into debt collection?
I was thrown into it. So I started at Collection House as their, filing clerk back when I was 16, doing admin course, and then applied for a job and started in their internal law firm back when I was 20, and just worked my way up in law firms and working in debt collection or alongside debt collection agencies in law firms. And it's just one day I just got sick of working for law firms and went, oh, I've got enough experience. I might as well go and take that experience and do my own and start out on my own.
So you started in debt collection at the age of 16. So I'm guessing you've now got about 12 years experience.
Make it 20, 23.
So
Have you did the calculations?
Birthday recently, but really cool. So so you've been in and around and in the middle of this industry and this awful murky thing. As service providers, we love what we do, and then when people don't pay, we all tend to get a little bit upset with that.
Well, it's an emotional situation. So if you've done the work for someone and everything, and then they're not communicating or paying, the emotional side can get very stressful for that person. That's where I come involved. It's better for them to have a mediator between both parties who can think outside the box, mediate between, do a puzzle of the matter and go, okay, well, you're wrong, but also you're wrong. So how about we settle? Or it's like, no, you got the services, you instructed the services to be done, and that's what it's all about. So, yeah, sometimes I have to actually put my client in their place.
It sounds so nice and easy when you say it. So there's a couple of different things that are different parts to the process. And this is what you're going to discuss next week in the whole thing, about how people can simplify the process of actually going and collecting these delinquent debts. If the person does run away and decides not to communicate, there is a process that they can go through.
Yeah, there is several processes. Like it comes down to, by law, it comes down to the last known address that we can send the letter of demands to and everything else. Specifically, if it's a company, you send everything to the registered office address or as per the Corporation Act. So if the director hasn't updated the registered office address, that's on them. But it's and that comes up very, very often because they're like, oh, I don't have that address anymore. So there is several ways of going around things. So some people have left their address. We can do some skip tracing. We can see if they're a director of a different company where it's a more current company. So there's several different ways of locating a defendant if they've moved or debtor if they've left that address. So, yeah.
So what are the important things to be looking for? So just to give people a bit of a flavour of what we're going to talk about next week or what you're going to talk about next week. So what are the important things people should be looking for?
Have you invoiced the right person? Have you invoiced the person who actually instructed you? I come across that quite a bit, which I can go into further detail next week about those issues. Have you got their right contact details? So sometimes they might have a different address or change addresses or that sort of thing. Why are they refusing to communicate with you? Do they just ignoring you? Is there a dispute that they're not telling you about? So that's how when we come involved, they're like, oh, okay, maybe we need to sort this out before it goes further. They mean business. So those are the main tips that we can look into. And that's why we do a free consultation from the beginning.
Fantastic. And then next week we're going to talk about all that. You're going to talk about QCAT. We've got opposing views on that, and that's okay. You're the expert in the area. I just don't like the process. So I look forward to finding out more next week. So it's next Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And people can register. I've got the link here on this show, and I'll put it everywhere that this show is before very long. But thank you very much for being part of the whole Reboot program, helping people collect those outstanding debts, because I know it's something that is, it's growing at the moment. There's more stress, and people are feeling less inclined to pay, but just just ghosting people, which is really bad.
Well, I think the other thing at the moment is that the ATO is now going to start cracking down on their debts. So everyone's going, oh dear, I may have a tax debt. I need to get my debts paid. So it's better to get an outsider to get those debts paid as soon as possible so you can work on your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The good thing is that the federal government doesn't want to shut any businesses down while they're trying to create full employment. So that's a really positive thing in everyone's favour at the same time. But that doesn't excuse us from not paying taxes, of course. So thanks very much for your time today, and I look forward to catching you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, Kev.